think when I play music that it feels freeing in a way. Music isn't just stagnant, it's always going somewhere. It's just another kind of communication and something that is a little bit easier sometimes than speaking. Instead of thinking in words, a lot of the time I think of pictures and feelings. So it kind of has to be translated before it comes out of my mouth. With music, you can convey the same kind of things in a way that makes sense. My name is Stephanie Heckley, and I'm a flutist. Right now I'm a student, but I also teach private flute lessons and work as a freelance musician in the Phoenix area. Well, I grew up in Florida, in the Panhandle. There wasn't a lot of classical music in the area, so it was my grandfather that helped me realize that I liked classical music a lot. He played it whenever we'd visit his house, so I really owe a lot to him. We listened to a lot of Beethoven, a lot of different piano sonatas and things like that. It was very pastoral, and then they would change into something and a little bit more fiery. I kind of imagine a turbulent sea or some kind of conflict, maybe like within someone. It's hard to tell when I first noticed that something was different because, I mean, you can only experience things in your own body. So I thought the way I perceived everything was the way everyone did. When I was in middle school, I mostly just watched people, so I didn't really talk much at all, and just kind of figured out why people were doing things the way they were. And the decision I made during that time was to basically become what I thought other people wanted me to be. So instead of trying to figure out who I was trying to figure out how everyone else worked, and then kind of being a chameleon. And I think maybe band helped. Maybe that's why I liked it so much, is because it was something I could do that was my own instead of thinking, this is how I should be. When I tell people I have Asperger's, sometimes their first reaction is to say, no you don't, you're fine. And then it kind of puts me in the spot of having to say, I agree, I'm fine. I'm thankful enough to be able to function fairly normally and well, so I'm lucky in that sense. But this is the reality. I do have Asperger's, and it'd be great if you could accept that. Having Asperger's is almost like you have information coming in all the time, and it's almost like there's no traffic lights. So sometimes I think with neurotypicals, they can choose what to block out and what to not, and what to let in. And I feel like everything comes in all the time really quickly, so I have to process a lot. So I end up feeling, most of the time, fairly overwhelmed. And sometimes physically I feel very jittery, or like right now, just sitting here, I feel like I'm vibrating, which is unusual. Hi, Dr. Bach. Good, how are you?
Good.
You have to think consciously more about doing the things that other people just kind of do naturally or take for granted. Like if I'm meeting someone new, I have to think really hard, about what to do. And whereas someone else, it might just be like, hey, what's up? Or, something a little more normal.
Okay.
So I end up thinking of little scripts and things to kind of help me get through that. So if I meet someone new, I generally think it's nice to meet everyone. So I just go ahead and say, hi, it's nice to meet you. And that's my go-to thing. That way I don't have to think as much.
Okay.
I do have to think about eye contact, which I wish I didn't have to do because it's kind of troublesome. So I end up, in a way, overthinking, like, okay, this person last looked away at that point. Maybe I should look away. Maybe I've been looking for too long. And that still ends up happening with people that I know really well, too. And then, of course, I'm not thinking about what to say at that point.
Okay, last three measures, please.
I found that if I make eye contact with the director at the second he's cueing me and I have to play, then I'll be late because it's almost like too much has come in at once with the eye contact and then what I have to be doing. It's too much and I'll end up coming in just, a split second too late and I've missed my entrance. When I'm kind of overwhelmed by things, I either go to my office and just kind of sit there by myself and just take some time to think and collect my thoughts and do some deep breathing. If I don't have anything left at the school, I'll just come home. This is my weighted blanket, and it's a nice cotton material that's filled with little plastic pellets. It's really heavy, so if you put it on, it can be really comforting for people that are autistic. There's weight on you, but then also it feels kind of freeing because you can finally relax. When I put the noise-canceling headphones on, then I don't have to block anything out. There's just minimal sound, and it can be really relaxing. I feel like I figured out who I was really late. I guess I was still trying to figure out the rules and how things worked. So I just kind of was still a big people pleaser and kind of pretty much a doormat, unfortunately. But then I realized that I didn't want to be that way. And so I decided to make it a priority to, get to know who I am and see what I like to do. And instead of thinking, what does society want me to think or do or be? I try to see life as an adventure. I find that if I think of life as an adventure, I don't get quite so distressed about the little things that are hard to get through during my days. How's it going?
It's good. We had a good time today.
Good. What I worry about most when I tell someone that I have Asperger's is that they're going to think it's a disability when I don't feel like it is. I like to think of it as different, not less. I wish I could connect with people a little bit easier. I love people, and I wish it were easier to get to know them and share things with them. I feel like sometimes having Asperger's, it's like there's a glass bubble around you. Could you bring the spinner over? The glass affects me and my husband, but we end up talking through the different kinds of things that he doesn't understand. So there's a lot of pressure on myself to be able to convey that well, or he won't understand, and I would like him to understand.
Yeah, I could just take all of it.
Yeah, you could. Escaping into music is a lot of times a relief in a way. I don't have to be thinking about kind of all the things that are difficult. It's inspirational instead of defeating. I think a lot of the times if I think too hard about what's difficult, I'll just get incredibly sad because there's a lot that is really hard and there's a lot that I really wish I could do better and wish that it was easier for me, but I've managed the best I could, so I can't really let myself feel any regret there because if you're doing your best, what else can you do?
Handy.